H. 2. Nuclear energy sources. Nuclear energy is the energy of the atomic nucleus. Radioactive minerals are used to generate nuclear energy through high technological methods. Radioactive minerals. Radioactive minerals used for generating energy are alternative to fossil fuels. Similar to other minerals, availability of ore of radioactive material is finite and limited. However, a very small quantity of radioactive minerals can generate large amounts of energy. Antoine-Henri Becquerel discovered radioactivity in 1896 and his name lives on in the units used to measure it. Becquerel's BQ. 1 becquerel equals 1 radioactive decay, which is a very small amount. It may surprise you to know that every substance is radioactive to some extent. For example, 1 loaf of bread equals 70 BQ. 1 kilograms of coffee equals 1000 BQ. 1 adult human equals 3000 BQ. 10 kilogram of granite equals 1200 BQ. 1 kilogram of 50-year-old high-level radioactive waste equals 10,000,000,000,000,000,000 BQ. There are two methods which can be used to release energy from radioactive minerals. By nuclear fission. In this process, the nucleus of heavy atom, namely of uranium, U-235 or plutonium P-239, breaks apart into smaller fragments, releasing an enormous amount of energy. 2. Nuclear fusion. In this process, small nucleus like those of isotopes of hydrogen, namely deuterium and tritium etc., fuse or join together to form a heavier nuclei, releasing vast amounts of energy. Nuclear fission. Radioactive mineral, which generates nuclear energy through fission, may be considered a non-renewable alternative source of energy, as it is an ore and is found in limited quantities. Nuclear fission occurs because the atom of radioactive minerals contains nuclei that are unstable and break or split apart, releasing energy. Whenever a neutron strikes a nucleus of U-235, energy is released, krypton and barium are produced, and several neutrons are released. These new neutrons may strike other atoms of U-235 to produce a chain reaction. When this nuclear disintegration takes place, particles from the nucleus, including neutrons, fly out. The neutron may cause other atomic nuclei to split, releasing more neutrons and more energy. Once begun, this chain reaction continues to release energy until the fuel is spent or the neutrons are prevented from striking other nuclei. In the reactor of a nuclear power plant, the rate of nuclear chain reaction is controlled, and the heat generated is used to produce high-pressure steam, which spins turbines that generate electricity. Heat produced here is carried away by water coolant and transferred by way of heat exchanger to the water in a steam-generating unit. The steam produced powers a turbine that produces electricity. Cooling water is used to condense the steam after it has gone through the turbine. Two other nuclear technologies for generating electricity from nuclear fuel in a safe and economic way have also been proposed, but so far they have not proved operationally successful. These are I nuclear breeder reactor, 2 fusion reactor, I nuclear breeder reactor. The nuclear reactors operating today use uranium very inefficiently. About 1% uranium is actually used to produce steam for generating electricity. A nuclear reactor that can utilize between 40% and 70% of its nuclear fuel is called a breeder reactor. Breeder reactors convert more abundant uranium-238 or thorium-232 fissionable isotopes, plutonium-239 or uranium-233 respectively, that can sustain a nuclear chain reaction. To nuclear fusion reactor. The principle for nuclear fusion involves uniting 2 small atoms to form a large atom, with the release of an enormous amount of energy. The energy produced by stars and the Sun is the result of nuclear fusion. Generation of energy by this method so far, however, has not been possible, though a lot of research has focused on the fusion reaction of deuterium-D and tritium-T, 2 isotopes of hydrogen which fuse at about 100 million degrees. The advantage of using nuclear material for energy generation instead of coal and oil is that it produces very little pollution. It requires less strip mining as nuclear fuel have highly concentrated form of energy. Moreover, the cost of transportation of nuclear fuels is much lower than that for coal and oil required for generation of an equivalent amount of energy. Note: hydrogen bomb is based on the principle of uncontrolled fusion reaction. Atom bomb is based on the principle of nuclear fission. The Campbell disaster in USSR and 3 Mile Island plant in USA accident have raised serious concern about the safety of nuclear power plants. Location of radioactive mineral in India. In India, monazite, that is the main source of thorium, is found in commercial quantities on the Travancore coast between Kanyakumari and Quyon, while uranite or pitchblende mineral of uranium is found in Gayabhar, Amarajasthan, Annela, and Andhra Pradesh. Utilization of radioactive minerals is expanding and investigations are being carried out on such deposits to provide definite indications of magnitude and potential for exploitation. It is important to realize that none of these resources can last forever. It has become necessary to rely on replenishable and regenerative resource base as well as on those types of technologies which improve energy use efficiency. Mostly of the conventional energy sources which are replenishable are called inexhaustible or renewable energy sources that include firewood, cattle dung, farm or agricultural wastes, etc. Since these energy sources are generally of plant and animal origin, they can be grown and produced. But if they are used recklessly and irresponsible manner, they may get exhausted and may become non-renewable. B. Renewable sources of energy. A conventional source of energy, which are easily available and have been in usage for long time. B. Non-conventional source of energy, that are other than the usual or that are different from those in common practice. Sources of energy. Conventional and non-conventional. Conventional and non-conventional renewable. 1. Solar energy, renewable energy. 2. hydropower. 3. Wind energy, mostly fossil fuels, mostly non-fossil fuels seen. 4. Nuclear energy found under the above the ground. 5. Hydrogen energy ground. 6. Geothermal energy, coal, oil, natural firewood, cattle dung from. 7. Biogas, gas, etc. other vegetable wastes, wood. 8. Tidal energy examples. Charcoal, etc. are the examples. 9. Biofuel. Most of the renewable resources of energy are directly or indirectly related to sun or solar energy. Renewable sources of energy or non-conventional energy sources include sunlight, wind, water and biomass, firewood, animal dung, crop residue, agricultural wastes, biodegradable waste from cities and towns. Energy received from sun is known as solar energy. Energy generated by water is hydel energy, and energy obtained from underground hot dry rocks, magma, hot water springs or natural geysers, etc. is called geothermal energy. Tidal energy is derived from waves and tidal waves of oceans and seas. Renewable or non-conventional sources of energy, the rapidly depleting fossil fuel sources of energy and escalating demand of energy, have made it necessary to look for alternative sources of energy that are known as renewable or inexhaustible. We can define inexhaustible energy resources as those resources which can be harnessed without depletion. Most of these resources are free from pollution, and some of them can be used at all places. These renewable energy resources are also known as non-conventional or inexhaustible or alternate energy sources. These energy sources are solar, flowing water, wind, hydrogen and geothermal. We get renewable solar energy directly from the sun and indirectly from moving water, wind and biomass. Like fossil fuels and nuclear power, each of these alternatives, renewable sources of energy, has their own advantages and disadvantages. 1. Solar energy. Sun is an abundant source of energy, and it is inexhaustible. In the broadest sense, solar energy supports all life on Earth and is the basis for almost every form of energy we use. The sun makes plants grow, which are burned as fuel or rot in swamps and are compressed underground for millions of years to become coal and oil. Heat from the sun causes temperature differences between areas, causing the wind to blow. Water evaporates because of the sun. Water vapors are carried to high elevations, and when the water vapors condense and precipitate as rainfall, the water rushes down towards the sea through rivers. Spin turbines is made for generating electricity. It thus becomes clear that hydroelectricity is an indirect form of solar energy. However, direct solar energy can be used as heat, light, and electricity through the use of solar cells. The sun is often regarded as the ultimate answer to our energy problems. Sun provides a continuous supply of energy that far exceeds our current energy demand. It is free of cost, available in plenty, found everywhere and has no political barrier. Actually, fossil fuels also represent sunlight stored millions of years ago. However, we are only able to trap and make use of a very small fraction of this abundant energy source. Solar energy use can be classified as direct solar energy use. Solar energy is captured directly as sunlight and used for heating, generating electricity and cooling too. Indirect use of solar energy derived from natural processes driven by the sun, for example wind, biomass, waves, hydroelectric power. A direct solar energy. Solar energy is abundant, everlasting and available free of cost. Direct use of solar energy can be used through various devices broadly directed into three types of systems. I. Passive. 2. Active. 3. Photovoltaic. I-passive solar energy. As you know, some of the earliest uses of solar energy were passive in nature, such as to evaporate seawater for producing salt and to dry food and clothes. In fact, solar energy is still being used for these purposes. The more recent passive uses of solar energy is for cooking, heating, cooling and for the daylighting of homes and buildings. The effectiveness of passive solar energy depends on good building design. No mechanical means are employed in passive use of solar energy. Passive use of solar energy for cooking. The energy from the sun can be harnessed to cook food without any large, complex systems of lenses or mirrors. We all know that when sunshine falls on a dark surface, it is absorbed and transformed into heat energy. Glass is bad conductor of heat, but if a shallow glass-covered chamber painted black inside and insulated all around is exposed to sun for some time, the inside temperature would soon exceeds up to 100 degrees, which is sufficient to cook food. On a hot summer day, the temperature inside the solar box cooker will easily becomes 140 degrees. Solar cooker takes 5-6 hours to cook food. The solar box cooker is the poor man's device for direct use of renewable source of energy. In Indian conditions with plentiful sunshine, we can use a solar box cooker for cooking of food. The great advantage of solar cooking is its convenience, because the food will never get overcooked or burned. Apart from its load and forget quality, the food cooked in the solar cooker is also more tender and retains most of the nutritive values. But this comes at a cost, is a slow process, and take longer time, that is solar cooking. India may be justifiably proud that the world's largest solar steam cooking system is operating in the Brahma Kumaris ashram at Mount Abu in India. Here the solar energy is concentrated by a battery of concentrators/mirrors to convert water into superheated steam. The system can cook for 10,000 people. It was constructed at a costs 1 crore of rupees, excluding the labor of the ashram inmates. Passive use of solar energy for daylighting. Daylighting is using natural sunlight to light building interiors. Daylighting technologies are designed to maximize natural light for illuminating the interior of buildings. These may be in the form of core lighting when the building may have a central atrium to allow entry of maximum sunlight. The most recent technology is hybrid solar lighting, which collects sunlight and sends it the optical fibers into buildings, where it is combined with electric light in hybrid light fixtures. There are sensors in the room which keep a steady lighting level by adjusting the electric lights based on the sunlight available. This new generation of color lighting combines both electric and solar power. Passive solar systems are maintenance-free. There are no moving parts, and so no energy is expended for heating or cooling a building, and hence there are no operating costs. The only major problem is that passive solar heating, cooling and lighting system can be used only in specially designed buildings. Daylighting of business and commercial buildings provides a higher quality of light and improves productivity and health, and at the same time results in substantial saving on electric bills. The active use of solar energy. Active solar heating and cooling systems rely on solar collectors, which are usually mounted on roofs. Such systems also requires pumps and motors to move the fluids or blower by fan in order to deliver the captured heat. A number of different active solar heating systems are available. The main application of these systems is to provide hot water, primarily for domestic use. Active solar heating is extensively used in India, Japan, Israel, Australia and southern United States, having sunny climate. Solar energy to produce electricity. Solar energy is used to generate high-temperature heat or electricity. Solar collectors in sunny deserts can produce high-temperature heat to spin turbines for producing electricity, but cost of such devices are high. Several solar thermal systems can collect and transform radiant energy received from the sun into high-temperature thermal heat energy, which can be used directly or converted into electricity. Huge arrays of computer-controlled mirrors called heliostats track the sun and focus sunlight on a central heat collection tower. Solar energy for cooling. A solar collector can also be used for cooling. In this system, energy from the sunlight powers a small heat engine similar to an electric motor of a refrigerator. The heat engine drives a piston that compresses a special vapor into a liquid. The liquid then revaporizes and draws heat out of the surrounding air. See solar cells or photovoltaic technology. Solar energy can be converted directly into electrical energy, direct current, DC, by photovoltaic PV cells, commonly called solar cells. Photovoltaic cells are made of silicon and other materials. When sunlight strikes the silicon atoms, it causes electrons to eject. A typical solar cell is a transparent wafer that contains a very thin semiconductor. Sunlight energizes and causes electrons in the semiconductor to flow, creating an electrical current. Solar cells can provide electricity to remote villages. India is the world's largest market for solar cells. PV cells can be used for domestic lighting, 2 street lighting, 3 village lighting, 4 water pumping, v electrification, 6 desalination of salty water, 7 powering of remote telecommunication repeater stations and 8 railway signals. B. Indirect solar energy. A large number of energy sources such as wind, tide and hydroelectric ultimately depend on solar energy. Wind energy. About 2% of the sunlight striking the Earth is converted into the kinetic energy of moving air called wind. The uneven absorption of the solar radiation by the Earth's surface causes differences of temperature, density and pressure which produce air movements at local, regional and global levels powered by wind energy. The kinetic energy of the wind can be harnessed by converting it into mechanical energy or electrical energy using suitable devices. The wind has been used to power ships, grind grains, pump water for irrigation, and do other types of work. In present times, the greatest potential for using wind is for the production of electricity. Wind turbines, like windmills, are mounted on a tower to capture the most of the wind energy. Windmills can be used to drive generators to producing electricity. To produce electricity, wind is used to turn the shaft of a turbine which is attached to a generator that produces electricity. Thus, wind turbines transform wind energy into mechanical power which can be used to generate electricity. Wind turbines can be used single or in clusters. When wind turbines occur in clusters, they are called wind farms. Small wind turbines called aerogenerators and can be used to charge large batteries. Note: 5 nations, USA, Germany, Denmark, Spain and India, account for 80% of the world's installed wind energy capacity. India ranked 5th in the world with a total wind power capacity of 1,080 MW, out of which 1,025 MW have been established in commercial projects. In India, the states of Tamil Nadu and Gujarat lead in the field of wind energy. At the end of March 2000, India had 1,080 MWs capacity wind farms, of which Tamil Nadu contributed 770 MW capacity. Gujarat has 167 MW, followed by Andhra Pradesh, which has 88 MW installed wind farms. There are about a dozen wind pumps of various designs, which provide water for afforestation, irrigation, domestic purpose, used in various tasks of the country. Recently, there has been a renewed interest in wind as a source of energy. India is the 5th largest producer of wind power in the world. Countries engaged in development of wind energy include Great Britain, Netherlands, Greece, Spain, Denmark, USA, California and India. Andhra Pradesh generates maximum energy through wind power. Other states generating energy through wind are Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. A total of 26 project sites have been developed in these states, resulting in a capacity of 57 MW. B. Tidal energy. Tidal power projects attempt to harness the energy of tides as they flow in and out. The main criteria for a tidal power generation site are that the mean tidal range must be greater than 5 meters. The tidal power is harnessed by building a dam across the entrance to a bay or estuary, creating a reservoir. As the tide rises, water is initially prevented from entering the bay. Then when tides are high and water is sufficient to run the turbines, the dam is opened and water flows through it into the reservoir in the bay, turning the blades of turbines and generating electricity. Again, when the reservoir of the bay is filled, the dam is closed, stopping the flow and holding the water in reservoir. When the tide falls ebb tide, the water level in the reservoir is higher than that in the ocean. The dam is then opened to run the turbines, which are reversible. Electricity is produced as the water is let out of the reservoir. The dams built to harness the tidal power adversely affect the vegetation and wildlife. A dam is built across an estuary or bay, allowing the incoming and outgoing waters to flow through small openings fitted with propellers that run electric turbines. To date, the numbers of tidal electric plants are limited to 40. Lawrence in France is the only commercial power station operating in the world. In India, a major power project costing Rs. 5,000 crores is proposed to be set up in the Hamtal Creek in the Gulf of Kutch and Gujarat. C. Hydropower energy. The energy in moving waters is one of the most widely used renewable energy source. In earlier times, the kinetic energy of flowing rivers and streams was trapped by means of water wheels that were used to grind grain, saw wood and manufacture textiles. It was only in 1800s that the energy of water was converted into electricity. Hydroelectric power uses the kinetic energy of moving water to make electricity. Generation of electricity by using the force of falling water is called hydroelectricity or hydropower. It is cheaper than thermal or nuclear power.